Hey everybody, I just wanted to send this out to those of you who couldn't make today's meeting. Just an overview of what we covered today. First and foremost, let me say thank you for volunteering. Whether you are a new person and you're super brave, because you're super brave for volunteering for something that you've never done before, or you're somebody who has come back again and knows the value that our Great Artist Program brings to our students. I just want to say thank you to all of you again for volunteering. We truly appreciate you. And this year we have about 483 students that we'll be bringing art to in the classroom, which means that we're going to help them create over 2,415 pieces of art. That is a lot of good art going on. So in this, I'm going to just, like I said, just go over a little bit about what we covered in today's meeting. But if you have any questions or concerns, or you just need to chat about something relating to the Great Artist Program, by all means, give me a call, or you can also just drop me an email and I'll try to answer those as quickly and efficiently as possible. So in the meeting today, we covered the docent procedures. That's what a docent does specifically. We talked a little bit about lesson fundamentals, the goals that we have, the tools that we use, and some tips. And then we went into some housekeeping things. And lastly, we just did a little review of our lessons and projects for the year. This document here you're going to see attached in the email. I encourage you to read this completely from top to bottom. This is going to answer a large amount of your questions. We did spend a little time reviewing it, but you can read it. And again, if you have any questions, you can let me know. But it just basically goes over some basic info about what it means to be a great artist docent and your basic steps that you take. How you work with your team in order to get the calendar set, and you work with the teacher in order to have the calendar set. The way you gather the supplies, and how you reset the cart in the end. So a really good read, gives you all that basic info, but let me know if you have any further questions after reading this particular document. So what is our goal? Well, it's not just about having fun doing art, but it's also about learning a little something about the artist or an art type or a period of art. And this allows the kids to draw parallels to their own life and potentially see themselves as a great artist someday. Not only does it do that, but we teach a little bit about the artist. About 15 minutes we talk about an artist or an art type. And we do this so that the kids understand and have a motivation or a technique, or understanding a technique that they can emulate in their own masterpiece that they make in the style of that artist. And on top of all that, it helps with the brain growth, because you've got two sides of your brain. So it helps create a more enriched and fulfilled brain. The tools that you will use to help create this more fulfilled and enriched brain are two things that I will send you. Is a facilitator's guide that has all the notes and things about the artist. And in that facilitator's guide, I give you things to say and do and questions that you could potentially ask the class. And that's a way to get them involved in the learning, by asking questions and having discussions. And so the facilitator's notes kind of lay all that out, and you can pick and choose to what things you want to say or discuss. Along with that facilitator's guide, you are also given a presentation. And on the art cart, there will be a thumb drive. And that thumb drive you plug into the teacher's computer, and there will be directions attached to it, how to open it and put it in a presentation mode. But there is a presentation for you to use with visual cues to talk to. Now that's because most people are visual. Auditory learners are very few and far between, and that is a skill that is learned in most children. They're predominantly visual. So we give you a visual presentation to talk to. So for instance, on this page, you've got on the left side, you've got the facilitator notes, and on the right side is a visual of what that presentation slide would look like. I can look at this slide and know just a few things that we're talking about. Georgia O'Keeffe, who was born in Wisconsin. She was the second of 7 children. She went to art school, and by the age of 13, she said she was going to be an artist. I can go on, but all these little visual cues that you see on this slide here, that is directly related to what's in the facilitator's notes. Now, I don't just leave you out there to try to figure it all out on your own. What I also do is I take this presentation and I kind of talk to it and I put it on YouTube for you. So to kind of explain the ins and outs and the motivation and the things you may or may not want to say when it pertains to that particular slide. So you get your facilitator's notes, which you want to review well in advance and read and decipher what it is you want to say. And then you get your presentation slide, which you will put up for the kids to see, and you can talk to and point to things as you're having your little 15-minute discussion about the artist. And all that will be put on YouTube with some tutorials from me. And that little thumb drive, once you're done, needs to go back onto the art cart for the next person to pick up and do. All right, how about some tips? Tip number 1, time. Time is your enemy and time is your friend. It is your friend if you make it your friend. What I mean by that is, my suggestion to you is you always come early. Come early because there's going to be things that need to be prepped and set up ahead of time. Also, because you don't want to walk into a classroom all frazzled the last 5 minutes, trying to get the cart through the door and trying to get it down the hallway. Come early. And a lot of the times in the facilitator's notes, when it comes to the project, I'm going to tell you exactly what needs to be prepped ahead of time. And give yourself some time. Take care of yourself. So get there early, get stuff set up, get it prepped. Talk to your teacher ahead of time, letting them know that you'll get there a little bit early, and that's okay. They're always going to say yes to that. So by all means, time is your number 1 friend or your enemy. Number 2 tip, supplies. When it comes to the supplies for the project itself, do not pass them out. You can have things set up ahead of time, of course, like having paper on the tables if need be, or having paint poured onto pallets and that sort of stuff. But I would not set them in front of the students or put them on the student's desk. That is a visual deterrent. They are going to want to play with things. So my suggestion is have it all prepped, put into the back or outside, wherever it is you need to put it, and then bring it in and put it on the table after you've done the lesson portion of it and after you've explained what the project is. Third thing is, talk about why you're doing art. Tell them that you care about their brain and how important it is for them. And that this is an investment in making their brain happy, a complete and whole brain. My last tip for you is, there's this book called Beautiful Oops, and if you have a first grade class, I always suggest that you ask that the teacher read that book maybe the day before you get there or the morning before you get there. And the book just talks about how there are real no oopses when it comes to art. It's all about opportunities. If you make a mistake, it's not a mistake, it's just an opportunity to do something different. And this goes for you too as a facilitator. Guess what? They're not going to know you messed up. If you forgot to say something or do something, they're not going to know. They're just going to be so stinking excited that you're there that they're not going to know that you forgot to tell them this one particular thing about the artist. They're not going to care. So you shouldn't, not that you shouldn't care, but you shouldn't beat yourself up about it. They just love that you're there and you're going to do great. You're going to be just fine. Now, with that said, about yourself and about other people, some people are very type A personalities. They're going to have some difficulty. And we kind of need to usher them through those difficulties. There are those who think that if they make a mistake, they have to start over. Starting over is okay. One time is okay to start over if they need to. And then there are those students who really need someone to hold their hand. And if we ask them to do an art piece where they have to come up with the idea, like draw your favorite animal or make a scene about something, if we don't give them a specific, so for some kids, it's very difficult for them to get started. So just be prepared that you may have to walk around the room and do a little brainstorming with certain students, and that's just because that's the way they process information. And these are the 4 biggest tips that I have for you. All right, some housekeeping. First and foremost, if this is your first time volunteering, you need to complete a background check in the office. So see the women at the front office and they will give you all the paperwork that you need. With that background check, there is a TB test. If you've already had your TB tests done, they last, I think it's 4 years. You'll just have to go into the office and just sign that all of your current information is current, or if anything has changed, they just ask you to do that. So background check, TB test, see the women at the front desk. They'll explain all that to you. Then we have our calendar. In the office, there will be a calendar much like this. And this calendar is broken down into, of course, dates. And I tell you if there's no school or if it's a minimum day. This calendar, there's upper grades and lower grades. On the top line is where we write the upper grade teacher and the time that that lesson will be taking place. On the lower line, below the line, it's the lower grades. And so again, you write the teacher's name and what time that lesson will be placed. So as far as the calendar is concerned, there is only one calendar. It's in the office. We ask that you do not remove the calendar. If by any chance you have to remove it, most people just take a picture of each page and then take their phone into the classroom and discuss with the teacher what the calendar looks like and what dates are available. But if by any chance you have to take that calendar out of the office, please leave a note for everybody else saying where the calendar is. We've had situations where we've had to go and track down the calendar. We don't want to lose the calendar, and we also don't want to have everyone contacting me saying, where's the calendar? So please just leave the calendar in the office and do what we can to be respectful of each other's time. So as far as that calendar is concerned, it is one cart for each grade that it can be checked out. There are times where we do have people who want to have the cart twice in a day. In other words, like one teacher wants it in the morning and one teacher wants it in the afternoon. That's okay. We can typically do that, but we do ask that we don't have back-to-back carts, especially with paint. Paint, there's cleanup that needs to happen, setup that needs to happen, and if you have an art cart booked back-to-back, it really makes it difficult and sometimes almost near impossible. So again, one cart per day, or one cart per day per upper, per lower, unless it's spread out in the morning and in the afternoon. Fridays are very, very hot commodity. There are only a few Fridays, and if you look at like this November calendar, it's crazy town. There's a whole week of minimum days, and there's a whole week with no school, and that means that there are only 3 full Fridays, and those are going to get booked. So I always ask that you encourage your teachers maybe to do a morning, or to do a minimum day morning or a minimum day afternoon, and to do something other than Fridays. I know that's very difficult for teachers, but there are only so many slots that we can fulfill. And that's a little bit about our housekeeping that we went over. We went over a little bit about the projects that each group will be doing, our first and second graders and our third through fifth graders. And this is attached in the email. And this year, our first and second graders will be learning about elements of design, which is about all the things that make art beautiful. Color and shape, line and value and texture. These are the 5 projects that they will be doing this year. And again, it's attached in your email. You can review it. And if you have any questions, by all means, let me know. And this allows you actually in a snapshot to see all the fun and exciting things and maybe choose your utmost favorite project that you want to sign up to teach. This was just a close-up view that I did for everybody, and we just kind of discussed each one. The first one being color. They learn about warm colors and cool colors and how perfect to have the warm colors for the sun and the cool colors for the moon. They learn about shapes and that everything around them in the world is a shape. There's squares and circles everywhere. We have them cut out geometric shapes and make their own picture purely out of shapes. They then learn about lines, and with lines, they learn how lines create movement. And we have them create hair, crazy hair, and it'll be a fun one when you learn what that one's about, but they create hair on top of this picture. Then they get into value, and they learn how they can take a color like red, and they can add either some white or some black to it, and it creates all these beautiful hues of color, all these values of color. And then lastly, they put it all together at the end of the year, and they learn about texture. And they take their colors and their lines and their values, and they put it all together using oil pastels and watercolors. And so these are the projects for our first through second graders. This document is attached in the email as well. This is for our third through fifth grade students, and this is an overview of the projects they will be completing this year. This year, they are going to be concentrating on famous artists: Leonardo da Vinci, Albert Bierstadt, Van Gogh, Frida Kahlo, and Victor Vasarely. So we briefly went over each one of the projects, first starting off in October. Our very first one was our Leonardo da Vinci, where the children will be creating their own self-portraits by studying the proportions of the face and looking in mirrors at their own face to create their own self-portraits using pencils and paper. Then in November, they will be creating a watercolor landscape. Then we take a break in December, and in January, they come back and they work on a group project. We take a Van Gogh, a very famous Van Gogh piece of art, the 2 that we have here that are shown on the slide, and we cut it up. We slice it and dice it, and we cut it up and we give each child a 8 by 10 piece of paper, and they will either paint it or use oil pastels to have their own different color and textures on it. And then what we do is we take all these pieces of paper that we give them, we put it back together, and it creates one big classroom mural. It's a very fun project. Then we go in February and we do Frida Kahlo, where we have the children create an animal, their favorite animal or their pet at home, and they Frida Kahlo it. Then lastly, the very last project that they do is they will learn about optical illusion art, and they will have the opportunity to choose from different optical illusions, and they will choose one that they can create a very colorful and eye-opening, eye-focused optical illusion. So what happens with all this art? Well, they don't get to take it home yet. For those of you who are new to the program, all the art is collected by the teacher, and the teacher holds on to it till the end of the year. And in May, we have a wonderful and fabulous art show where from 2,400 pieces of art, they get to choose their one piece, and we have an art show of the 453 pieces for all the parents to see. And this art show allows us to raise a little money to help fund the project for the next year. So they don't get to take them home, but they will indeed be able to get them by the end of the year, and just let them know that this isn't the last time that they're going to see it, and get them excited that there is that art show at the end of the year where they get to show off their techniques. So, do you have any comments or questions or emotional outbursts or concerns? Well, I've also included my phone number and my email address. So by all means, if you need me or you need me to clarify something, I am here. And again, thank you so much for volunteering this year. Couldn't do it